Hey everybody, this is Rykard here again, and welcome to another Pokemon X and Y analysis video. Today's video is going to be all about Aromatisse, so let's get started by taking a look at this Pokemon's typing, abilities, and stats. So to start things off, Aromatisse is a Fairy-type Pokemon introduced in Generation 6, and quite the fluffy looking one at that. As for the abilities though, the first one that it gets is known as Healer, which is an ability that allows you to potentially heal the status of an ally in either a double or triple battle, and there's actually a 30% chance that this could potentially occur. So it's a very useful ability for doubles or triples. However, its secondary ability, which is known as Aromavale, is an ability that is exclusive to Aromatisse, and quite better, at least in my opinion, because it not only makes it so that Aromatisse is immune to moves such as Taunt, Attract, and Torment, but also so that your allies are as well. So this is essential, more or less, for Aromatisse on a supportive set in singles as well as in a doubles or triples battle, because it will make it so that it won't have any chance for its support moves to be hindered through the use of Taunt or any other things like that, which is really awesome. But as far as the stats are concerned, it has base 101 HP, which is an absolutely fantastic HP stat, along with base 72 defense and 89 special defense, meaning that this Pokemon is actually fairly bulky all around, which is really cool and could definitely allow Aromatisse to be a fantastic support Pokemon for your team, especially because it can't be taunted, as I just said before, and that's kind of one of the main reasons why you would want to use Aromatisse, just because it's immune to moves like that, and honestly, it completely shuts down a Pokemon like Sableye that pretty much relies on being able to taunt other supporting Pokemon, because you can effectively, status Sableye if you want to, and also hit it back for a super effective Fairy-type move, because Sableye and Spiritomb Pokemon with the Ghost Dark typing are no longer Pokemon that have no weaknesses, which is kind of cool. So if you are very annoyed by Sableye, Aromatisse is a Pokemon to do it, just because of its great defenses and access to super effective moves, and being immune to Taunt as a supportive Pokemon. But as far as its attacking stats are concerned, it has base 72 physical attack, which really is not that great, but it has a really nice base 99 special attack, meaning that this Pokemon is very capable of doing significant damage with its special attacking moves, and it does get quite a few for coverage, which is really awesome. But unfortunately, and also sort of fortunately, depending on how you look at it, Aromatisse has a base 29 speed, which is one of the slower speed tiers in the game. It's pretty much going to be outsped by the majority of Pokemon you are up against. However, this is also really important to note, because this Pokemon would function amazingly well on a Trick Room team because of this. So it's a double-edged sword in a way, where it's good for Trick Room, but kind of bad for other situations. However, Aromatisse still doesn't really need to be outspeeding much because of its impressive bulk, access to recovery, immunity to Taunt, as I said before, and just an all-around great supportive and potentially offensive Pokemon if you decide to use it in whichever way would benefit it the most for your team. So for the first set in this video, we're going to start by giving Aromatisse a Calm Nature to increase its special defense but lower its physical attack, and for the ability, we're going to be going with Aromavale. As for the EVs, we're going to put 152 into HP, 96 into its defense, 240 into its special defense, and then the remainder 20 EVs into its speed. And while this might seem like a really weird, bizarre EV spread, the reason why it is as such is because Aromatisse often gets compared to the likes of Florges and Sylveon, and so it needs to sort of keep up with them in a way. So because of its higher HP stat than both of them combined, we really don't need to run as many HP EVs, which will then allow us to put more EVs into our defenses to take hits better from the physical or special side. And then the remainder 20 EVs are there to allow you to outspeed Pokemon of up to base 30 speed, which are actually quite numerous, such as Licky Licky and Amoonguss and a bunch of others. So it is important to make it just a little bit faster for a supportive set. And as far as the item is concerned, we're going to be going with Leftovers as a way to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But as for the moves, we are going to be running the awesome Wish Protect combo to not only allow Aromatisse to heal its own HP and also potentially stall for status damage, but also to potentially heal the HP of its teammates, which is very useful, especially because of its really high natural HP. So overall, this will just allow Aromatisse to last a very long time in battle. But for your main attacking move of this set, we're going to be going with Moonblast as a way to potentially lower our opponent's special attack with its secondary effect, but also just be a nice, solid Fairy-type move for this Pokemon to have at its disposal to allow it to do some pretty good damage to anything on your opponent's team. And then for the third move slot, and the last one that I'm mentioning, we could either go with Toxic as a way to status our opponents, or Aromatherapy as a way to heal the status of ourselves as well as our teammates. So it's whichever one you think is more useful, if you want a status move to wear down opposing walls, or if you want a move to heal the statuses of your teammates. Both have obviously really good benefits to using them, and it's really just whichever you feel will fit your team the best. But overall, this is just a nice, solid defensive set for Aromatisse to run to allow it to support its team members and wall attackers. Up next, I have a second support set for Aromatisse to run, so we're going to start this one off by going with a Bold Nature to increase its defense but lower its physical attack, and for the ability, we're going to be going with Aromaveil again. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its HP, 128 into its defense, and then 128 EVs into its special defense to give it its max HP possible and some nice mixed bulk all around. And for the item on this set, we are going to be going with a Light Clay to allow us to extend the turns of our screens or leftovers to recover a little bit of HP at the end of every turn. But the two main moves of the set, which I also hinted at with the Light Clay item, are going to be Reflect and Light Screen to allow us to take physical and special attacks a lot better, because it will obviously be reducing the damage we're taking from them, as well as, reduce the damage any of our teammates take since it stays up when we switch out. And these two moves in combination with each other are really awesome, and allows your team to just be immensely bulky in a sense, and allow even your most frail Pokemon to take attacks a lot easier. So with these two screens, we are going to be going with either Moonblast, Aromatherapy, Toxic, or Protect in our third move slot is what I meant to say. Moonblast, obviously, to have a damaging attack, Aromatherapy to potentially heal off status, Toxic to potentially status an opponent, or Protect to also work in combination with our last move, Wish. Now, because we have the screens up, we don't necessarily need Protect because we probably are not going to be KO'd by anything, unless we are at a very low range of health if the screens are up. So we don't necessarily need to run it, but Wish is there for recovery anyway, because we could probably tank a hit and then get the Wish recovery, as well as also having the possibility to pass it off to a teammate if we get the chance to, which is also something that is much easier to do because of the screens as well. So that's something to just keep in mind as you are using Wish on the set, because if your screens are up, even Pokemon at a low range of health potentially could survive a hit upon switch and then get their health returned. But the thing to note about this set in particular is that normally I would never run 4 support moves on a set, but because of Aromaveil and because we can't be taunted as a result of that, it is very easy to do. So you can very easily run Reflect, Light Screen, Aromatherapy, Wish, or Toxic Wish, or whatever you want, to allow Aromatisse to just be a flat-out support Pokemon that is able to just last a really long time in battle and be a nuisance to your opponent, as they won't really be able to get anything done as you're making your defenses bulkier, maybe healing off statuses or toxicking them, or working in combination with Wish to keep your HP up and your teammates. And it also might be a good idea to potentially run Toxic Spikes on another Pokemon in combination with this set to allow you to stall things out even easier, but that's just an option that you could potentially run. Up next, I have a boosting offensive set for Aromatisse, so we're going to start this one off by going with a Bold Nature to increase our defense and lower our physical attack, and for the ability, we're going to be going with Aromaveil. As for the EVs, we're going to put 252 into its HP, 252 into its physical defense, and then 4 EVs into its special attack to give it its max HP and physical defense possible. It is also important to note that because this Pokemon has base 101 speed, when you do make a substitute on this set with max HP, your substitutes will not be able to be broken by the likes of Nightshade and Seismic Toss. So that's just something really awesome to keep in mind for this set. But again, we're going to be running leftovers for recovery at the end of every turn. For the moves though, as I mentioned before, or just a second ago, we are going to be using Substitute as a way to get behind a protective barrier to allow us to take attacks easier, be immune to statuses, and also allow us to set up easier behind. And the setup move of choice on this set is going to be Calm Mind, which will be boosting our special attack and special defense by 1 stage every time we go for it to effectively make Aromatisse even more powerful and more bulky, along with its max defense, which is going to be allowing us to take physical hits extremely well. But for the main move of the set, once you have combined sufficiently enough for your tastes, we are going to be going with Moonblast again as a way to allow Aromatisse to dish out some really good damage from the Fairy type side. Also has that chance to lower your opponent's special attack, which could be very useful for allowing you to take special hits even better after a few combines, meaning your subs would be even more difficult to break. But for the coverage move on this set, after you go with Moonblast, we could either go with Hidden Power Ground to give you coverage against the Poison, Fire, and Steel types that Moonblast is not very effective against, and the types that would be able to hit Aromatisse for super effective damage. However, you could also go with Thunderbolt for some added coverage on some other Pokemon, or possibly Psychic for the option of having a stronger move to hit poison types with, as well as being able to hit fighting types that may be typed with something else that Moonblast would only hit it for neutral damage. So that is just something to keep in mind overall. There are 3 possible coverage options along with Moonblast, but this set is just a fantastic way to allow Aromatisse to become an incredibly bulky special attacker that will not be taken down very easily and be able to dish out quite a bit of damage. And lastly, I have a Trick Room set for Aromatisse to run, so we're going to start this one off by giving it a Quiet Nature to increase its special attack, but lower its speed, and then for the ability, we're going to be going with Aromaveil. As for the EVs, we're going to max its HP with 252 EVs into that stat, 4 into its defense, and then max its special attack with 252 EVs into that stat. And then we will also be dropping our speed IV all the way to 0 to make Aromatisse as slow as possible. And for the item, we will be using a Life Orb to allow Aromatisse to do significantly more damage with all of its attacking moves, but do keep in mind that you do take 10% of your health as recoil every time you attack. As for the moves though, the first one that we're going to be going with is Trick Room on the set to allow the dimensions to be twisted and make Aromatisse faster than pretty much everything that you're going to be running into, since we are naturally making it extremely slow through the use of the Quiet Nature and 0 speed IVs. But once we have sufficiently set up our Trick Room, we will then be able to start attacking all of our opponents. So the main fairy move of the set again is going to be Moonblast, and then we're going to be going with a coverage move in either Thunderbolt, Psychic, or Energy Ball. And for the last move on the set, we are going to be going with Hidden Power Ground for coverage against those Fire, Steel, and Poison types that we are going to be wanting to be able to hit for super effective damage. But overall, this set just has some pretty fantastic coverage all around, and will definitely turn Aromatisse into a quote-unquote speedy attacker that will be capable of potentially sweeping teams if your opponent does not have anything to handle this Pokemon once the Trick Room is up. But anyways, everybody, that is it for this video, so I wanted to thank you all for watching, and feel free to follow me on Twitch, Twitter, bookmark the database that will have these movesets as well as every other moveset I've been doing for my analysis series, and also please join the Zat at zat.com/pokegrounds. Thank you everybody for watching, and as always, take care, goodbye, and I will see you all next time.